All right, Pinhead, your time is up.
Who you calling Pin?
A hurricane watch has been upgraded to a tropical storm warning for the following areas in Louisiana: Avoyelles, Lafayette, St. Landry, and Upper St. Martin.
For every beauty that exists in the world, a beast must exist to offset the balance. In recent years, due to rising temperatures in the Gulf, hurricanes have become more erratic in nature, causing them to virtually spring up overnight, making them more devastating than ever before. Rita, Harvey, Katrina. The list goes on, and in the near future we'll become familiar with the names of many more. In the month of August 2020, Laura was added to that list.
And for more on Hurricane Laura,
Hurricane Laura could bring unprecedented destruction.
A textbook example of a rapidly intensifying hurricane. Because this has just been an incredible storm that is not showing any signs of kind of reaching that peak strength. Remember, it was just 10 a.m. yesterday morning that was first classified as a hurricane. And now we're here almost borderline Category 5 storm.
The biggest threat, as Ginger was mentioning, is probably going to be that storm surge. Because of the fast forward motion, because of the very high winds, we could see storm surge values that are 10 to 15 feet.
Caused by the strong circular winds from hurricanes pushing water from the Gulf toward the shorelines. Storm surge can cause flooding of up to 30 feet or more above sea level that can extend up to 100 miles inland from the coast. Water levels can also rise from atmospheric pressure, exerting a force strong enough to wipe out entire cities, leaving the leading factor of the disaster, severe flooding.
Remember that storm surge flooding is starting now in Louisiana. It's well ahead of the storm. It will just get worse over the next day or so. But it's actually starting right now in the lowest lying areas along coastal Louisiana.
90% of the deaths from hurricanes are caused by storm surge. Many factors contribute to a storm surge. With water weighing 1,700 pounds per cubic yard and its high wind speeds of up to 150 miles per hour, these are what make the powerful product of an immensely fatal combination.
Make no mistake about it, people will lose power, people will see very significant flooding, and this is a life-threatening storm that does indeed look a lot like Hurricane Rita.
that is the scary part right there.
How about 9 feet of storm surge and even more than that? This is not survivable, and this is why you need to evacuate when told to do so.
You're going to hear the word unsurvivable. You can only contrast this storm to recent years. You cannot compare them. People need to heed the warnings they've been given and to evacuate.
Government agencies can arrange for residents to evacuate. Some residents don't have cars and may require transportation to safer ground. Others may not have a place to go and require emergency shelter. Many residents, such as those in hospitals and prisons, are especially at risk.
Why would you stay in harm?
Advance warning of a storm surge also allows homes and businesses to board up windows and move furniture and other valuables to a second story to protect against strong floods. As Hurricane Laura advances towards the coast, storm surge intensifies as it grows nearer. Some of the quiet communities off the coast of southeastern Louisiana, there is little to no time to prepare for evacuation. And as for Lake Charles, the serene waters flow calmly, and the sky illuminates a red warning, like a flare signaling for the help that will be needed for months to come.
There goes the electricity. It's gone.
Amidst the destruction, a chlorine gas fire broke out from Biolab Incorporated plant, making the air for the local communities toxic to breathe. Emergency services were spread thin. The morning after the catastrophic event of Hurricane Laura, 17 teams with a total of 6,100 soldiers of the National Guard were immediately deployed to the affected South Coast communities. Volunteers from the Department of Transportation and Defense worked alongside the Guardsmen in the removal of debris, fallen trees, and downed power lines blocking public roads and necessary civil services. From relief to recovery, there's many steps to take. first on FEMA's agenda, supplying survivors with basic human necessities. In efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19, FEMA shelters more than 11,100 residents in hotels scattered around cities in Louisiana instead of large community shelters. News coverage of Hurricane Laura and its disaster relief was briefly aired, but the biggest story was of President Donald Trump's visit to Lake Charles surveying damages from Laura. Most people see a president's visit to deeply affected survivors of a natural disaster as a noble act. Little did most people know, 2 weeks prior to Hurricane Laura, President Trump signed a bill to cut FEMA by $44 billion from its $70 billion disaster relief fund during the busiest hurricane season on record to date. This leaves around $25 billion to cover all relief and recovery of the disaster that is 2020. FEMA still managed to provide 1.2 million MREs, 1.8 million liters of clean water, 25,000 tarps, and 348,000 bags of ice. By September 10th, only 2 weeks after Laura, FEMA sends out 4.3 million MREs, 5.9 million liters of clean water, 181,000 tarps, and 945,000 bags of ice. After weeks of progress, another hurricane crushes and dwindles the hopes of Louisiana's citizens once again.
To feel like you made some forward steps and then they stop you and say, hey, we're going to do it again, and then you see debris piled up everywhere. It's tough. It really is.
Coming together as one, government officials, social workers, and the people work night and day to rebuild a new era of the South.
I've been through Rita. Rita was nothing like this. It was nothing of this magnitude. I think the whole town of Lake Charles would say Rita was nothing compared to Laura. So this is a whole nother animal here. I just deal with it. Every day is different. You wake up, you deal with insurance, you deal with adjusters, you deal with contractors, family, you help your friends. Every day is different. Yeah, so as you can see right here, this was the ceiling fell down right here. It crushed all my cardio equipment. All this equipment right here. We're thinking it was either the tower from KPLC hit it or a tornado came. The winds were, there was recorded gust of wind on the water that was actually 207 miles per hour. That was just gusts. That wasn't sustained winds, but sustained was, 140. So it was as close to a Category 5 as you can possibly get. COVID. Got relief from COVID. They still haven't figured that whole deal out yet on how much will be forgiven But we had relief from COVID, and I have business interruption insurance here, so I'm blessed compared to what so many people are going through around here. I mean, there's people that have lost everything. They don't have food. They don't have a place to live. Kids are just getting back to school. On top of COVID, all this is on top of COVID. So, and then we got hit with Hurricane Laura, then we got hit with Delta 3 weeks later. So it's just been a 2020 on steroids. So another business I have is sober living homes, where I get people from rehab centers and they all move into houses, and that got affected. We had tenants in there that just get out of rehab, drug and alcohol rehab, and they don't have a strong foundation yet, and then all of a sudden, bam, they get hit with Hurricane Laura. These people are just learning how to live again, and they're learning how to live again while going through all this. It's just been chaos, different levels for everybody. It could always be worse, but my heart goes out to them as well. So, right now we have no electricity here at this building or water. Cut all that off because of the construction. Lake Charles does have electricity and water right now. We always had water. There was just a boil advisory for a while, but it took anywhere from 2 weeks to a month for people to get their electricity back. I'll show y'all up here kind of what a view from the roof ceiling of the damage. See right there where that ceiling, it's two different colors. If you look on top of KPLC, that's where the news tower fell, where it's black and then it turns gray, and landed in the studio. Actually, where the news people would have been filming if they would have stayed, that's where that tower landed. So could have been bad if they would have tried to stay. That's a view from the second floor of all the damage. This building's been here for 80 years or so. So yeah, it's been through a lot, but nothing like this. And as you can see, the tower right there where all the windows blew out. Everything you see physically, Laura did, for the most part, but then Delta came in and just dumped rain in everywhere, and so everybody's, roofs had tarps and needed new roofs and things like that. Well, then Delta came in and just put fuel on the fire. So a lot of people's houses are being gutted. Apartment complexes are all full, the ones that weren't damaged. Everybody's renting trailers right now and campers, and it's just, everybody's adjusting. Just one day at a time. Like anything in life, you go through it, you learn. So I think the people of Lake Charles learned from Rita, learned from Ike. Laura came, now I think we all got a PhD in dealing with hurricanes. So. But we'll be back stronger, better. It won't hold us down for long.
50 miles south of Lake Charles, coastal communities such as Cameron Parish are having difficulty picturing a future as promising as it once was.
Winds up to 130 miles per hour. Here are those gusts. 112 in Cameron. As I said, that really looks like the spot that gets the dirty, the most intense part of the storm.
Cameron Parish was completely obliterated by Laura and Delta, and has left the once thriving community in utter ruins. A mandatory evacuation was issued in Cameron Parish on August 27th, and wasn't fully lifted in some highly affected areas until November 11th. This has slowed the recovery efforts in Cameron Parish. During the evacuation process, the sheriff's office advised residents who stayed during the storm, if not to be reached by the flooding, should write their name, social security, and next of kin and put it in a Ziploc bag in their pockets. Anywhere from 50 to 150 residents stayed to ride out the storm on top of elevated homes. The whereabouts of around 30 people are still unknown months later. Laura's storm surge was so powerful that it uprooted homes, causing them to float miles from their location. Homes on stilts remained mostly intact after the storm surge waves were soon met with overwhelming winds. In many small towns like Rio, Louisiana, residents returned to witness the aftermath and decided to leave it all behind. They now sit in a sea of empty houses where they once knew as their community. Some never bothered to return at all. But there are some people who can call this their home and are determined to live by it.
It's home. These hurricanes, they put some stress on you when you see that they have that cone coming right at you right there, and you're like, oh no, not again, you know. Hurricane Laura, when the surge came, it disrupted some of the grave sites, and my mom's was one of them that her casket came out of the tomb and popped up and floated off somewhere out in the marsh or somewhere. We haven't found it yet. Several of the caskets have been found, but sites to kind of get ready for when we do find her, put her back. Yeah, it's one of the things with storms. I mean, it happened. It's happened for Rita, and now it's happened again. Of course, the worst season of all, hurricane season. You kind of want to be prepared when it does come. And when you evacuate, and you just hope you took the important things. That's things you can't replace. And of course, you always have that doubt in your mind if you did bring everything, especially if your house is gone. We were fortunate we came here and we did have a house. The porches, as you can see, they're all gone except the very back portion of it. The roof is hanging pretty, just hanging there. But there's a lot of work to do, and like I say, when we did come back, we found that the front door had been blown in, the 3 windows in the front, the bottom panes were blown in. We had 4 to 6 inches or so of mud and marsh grass all up inside the house. But for the most part, like I say, there was damage, but the structure's there, and we have something to rebuild back. So, like I say, I'm a cattleman. We had fences and barns, and all that is completely gone now. My cows ended up sending them to the sale because I don't have any range right now. My job was mainly maintain them or improve them. Well, after Hurricane Rita, they were all gone, so I had to start back over again. And now they're gone again. So it's like, whoa. It gets very trying. Everybody down here has really been working really hard to get the infrastructure back. Our waterworks down here, they got our water back on, and if you don't have water, you're really in a bind. And the power company, they setting poles back up because all the poles down in this lower part of Cameron Parish were all snapped and broken and shoved on top of the ridge. So right here, this tree illustrates the power of the water. What happened here is all the power poles were on the south side of the highway here in the marsh, and when the surge came in and with the wind, it broke the poles. So the poles were pulled up here by the wave action. I mean, once the power lines get up in here, they start doing a sawing action. They cut into these old oak trees with the power lines as the poles are being pushed back and forth by the waves. But you can see the waves were up pretty high up here on the limbs where these the marsh grass is all tangled up in the trees. That was due to the height of the water carrying the marsh grass with the poles and everything else with it up on top of the ridge here.
You need to change the no, I got it. White balance.
The power companies, they have really been working hard. They had a lot of people from all across the United States come here and help, and it's been really great to see that, and it's encouraging because to see so many people working hard to get us back to some kind of normalcy. Because once you get out of your routine, that's what really makes hurricanes bad. Is that so many people are affected at one time. All your neighbors who help each other all the time. Now they're in a bind, so we still help each other, but you just can't help one person out. You just got to spread it around. I don't know. What's bad is kind of becoming a routine almost. Whenever you start to lose some of your community, and for example, our high school always had a football team. They can't even field enough players now for a football team. There used to be a big Friday night thing here, but so it's changed a lot. But yeah, it's home, and it's kind of rough living here, but I don't know if I can really live anywhere else. If I had to, I guess you do what you got to do, but I'm not quite ready yet. It's a very close-knit community, and that's really the hard part about the storms, is that we're losing a lot of people are moving away. Even though it's home and I stay here, and I'll stay for, I guess, another storm or whatever. I'll take them as they come, but a lot of people aren't coming back. And it's easy to understand why. I don't blame them at all. It's not easy.